Hi guys, we're going to be looking at job specifications today and the importance of them in the recruitment process. I can't stress enough actually how vital they are to the success of recruiting somebody with an organisation. But they're much more than just finding out about the job and finding out about the candidate the person's looking for. This will enable us to examine the situation behind the vacancy, what's caused it, understand the client far better in terms of what their business objectives are, how we're going to help them achieve them and fulfil them. Today I'm going to be going through 4 specific areas of the job specification in the form of a role play, and I'll be breaking after each one to tell you about the importance of what information we're gathering and how it can be used. When taking down a specification, the very first thing you want to do is understand the situation behind the job. Speaking to the client and actually understanding what's caused the vacancy. Is it something that basically is a replacement, therefore a very urgent position that needs filling straight away? Is it expansion, and why are they looking to expand at the moment? In addition to which, you also want to find out what have they done so far to fill the role. Have they used agencies? Are they still using agencies? Have they got lots of people in the frame? So it enables us to actually allocate and prioritise our work accordingly. For this role play, I will be playing the role of the consultant, and Mark Wilkinson will be playing the role of the sales director for ABC Oils. The scenario is I actually called Mark yesterday and he informed me that he was looking for somebody but asked me to give him a call today to take down the full job specification. From this first part of the conversation, I'm trying to ascertain 3 key points. This is, firstly, what has caused the vacancy? Secondly, how quickly do they need to fill it and what's their interview process? And finally, what action have they taken so far to fill the role and how effective has this been?
Mark Wilkinson.
Oh, hi, is that Mark?
It is, yeah, hi.
Mark, hi, it's Anthony Hughes here, calling from Coburg Banks. You well?
Very well, thanks, Anthony. You?
Good, yeah, not bad at all, thank you, not bad. I know we spoke yesterday and you said that you were potentially looking to recruit, but you were quite busy yesterday and obviously didn't have time to go through a specification. I know you said that now would be quite a good time to make that call. Are you okay to talk at the moment?
Yeah, now's a good time.
Fantastic. Mark, I guess the first question I want to ask you is, obviously this is in relation to the sales role that you're looking to recruit. What's actually caused the vacancy to come about?
I've had one of my chaps handed his notice in last week.
Oh, okay. And what caused him to leave?
I think he was looking for a new challenge, basically.
Right, okay. And how long ago did is he actually still with you, or?
Yeah, well, he's sort of on reduced duties.
Right. And when does he actually physically leave?
So he handed his notice in 2 weeks ago, I think, so he's got a month's notice, so he's got 2 more weeks to go.
2 weeks ago. Do you know where he's going to?
That's a good question. No, because it wasn't me he resigned to, it was my sales manager, so I'm not exactly sure now.
Right, okay. And you said he wanted a new challenge, so do you know if he's still within your sector? Is he working for a competitor, or...?
Well, he was with us for 10 years plus, so I would imagine so. They stay within the industry, but I'm not 100% certain on that.
Right, so there's a chance, obviously, if he's covering the same area, that he might be able to take some business with him, of course.
Yeah, there is that risk. That's why we need to try and get somebody in as soon as possible, really.
Right, okay. And you've obviously been looking for 2 weeks, did you say? Is that right?
Yeah, if I'm being honest with you, we spent a week or so trying to turn him round, and then after that, couldn't, and so we've decided that we're going to have to start looking again. As you know, we spoke a couple of days ago and it's been quite busy, so we've sort of started in earnest in the last couple of days. Okay,
I know you said he's on reduced duties. Who's actually sort of covering his territory then whilst he's on these reduced duties?
Well, the territory's got a bit of account management and a bit of new business in it. It's mainly an account management type role, so he's doing that because he can handhold it. But the business development bit, nobody's doing it at the moment.
Right, okay, so you're possibly missing out on a few business opportunities in terms of new business there then as well?
Yeah, I suppose we are, yeah.
Right, okay. You say you've obviously been looking for about a week. What have you done so far to try and fill this role?
I've spoken to one other agency that we've done some work with in the past.
Oh, excellent, okay. And who are they, please?
They're a company called Michael Page.
Oh, I know Michael Page. Okay, and you say you've done some work with them in the past?
Yeah, they've placed a couple of these sales guys with us in the past.
Okay, what did you like about their service?
Not the fee, if I'm being honest with you, because it's quite expensive, but they understood what we were after, and they were able to present me with candidates that we needed, so ultimately we got to fill the role quite quickly.
Okay. And where are you at with this recruitment at the moment? I mean, do you have any sort of interviews lined up, or...?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of people.
You've already seen a couple?
Yeah.
Okay, and what were your thoughts on those people?
I like, yeah, they were okay. I liked one, but none of them have set me on fire, if you like. I probably wouldn't be talking to you if we'd like them both. But
no,
yeah, they were okay.
What did you like about that one?
He'd got some experience in our industry, so he'd done field sales before, and he'd got some exposure to the food sector, so that's what I liked about him.
Okay, and what were your doubts about him?
He's a little bit on the old side. And if I'm being truthful, I'm not overly certain he would get the nuances of our product.
Right, okay. And the other person, what did you think of them?
They were just, I suppose what you might call it's just a good salesperson who'd been around the block a bit. So I like the fact that they could turn the hand to anything, but I struggle a bit with, they don't truly understand the product, and I don't know how quickly they pick it up. So I've got some concerns there.
Right, so we lack the product and the industry knowledge as well.
Yes.
Knowledge. Okay.
Yeah.
I know you've obviously got these two that you've seen. Have you got anyone else actually in process as well? Are you due to see anyone else at the moment?
I think they've sent me a couple of CVs, but if I'm being truthful, I've been quite busy, so I haven't looked at them.
Right, okay. And I know you said you're wanting someone as soon as possible. What do you mean by as soon as possible? I mean, if we found someone that was perfect when we started matching to this, and I sent their details across to you tomorrow, and you absolutely love them, how quickly could you realistically start somebody?
Well, not tomorrow, put it that way, but I think, well, let's do it. We want to first interview them, and then I'm then going to want to get them back and do a second interview with them, so that's going to be a few days, isn't it?
Yeah.
And then we'd have to get the offer paperwork and so on. So depending on their notice, I'd have thought within a week of seeing them or 2 weeks of seeing them. Because obviously, in an ideal world, I'd like to get them in before this chap left, but I don't know how practical that's going to be.
I think you might find that quite difficult, especially if it is somebody working, because they will probably be on a month's notice, of course.
Yes, there is that risk. So yeah, I suppose yeah.
Okay, so
ASAP, but then how soon they could do it, I suppose.
So it's as soon as possible, ideally within the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, I'm appreciating that's difficult. But,
okay. All right. And you said about the interview process being 2 interviews. Who's involved at what stage?
Well, I'm going to get my sales manager to do the first one.
Okay. And what's her name?
It's called Robert Smith.
Okay.
Ultimately the role reports to him anyway, so it was important he meets them, and also he's probably got a bit more time on his hands than I have, so I'm going to have more freedom to see more people, I guess, and then the second one I'll see them at the end, and between us we'll make a decision from there.
Okay. If we take that in reverse order, I mean, obviously you said you wanted to start someone as soon as possible, so from that point of view in your diary, when could you do second interviews?
That's a tough question. Well, you're talking to me, it's Tuesday today, so I'm guessing it's going to be a few days before you come back to me. So in reality, we're probably not going to do any first interviews until next week, so it's probably going to be the week after next. Is it a week commencing the 20th, I think, is it? Something like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering if there was any chance of you doing something at the back end of next week as a second interview, and maybe Robert doing something at the front end of that week.
Could you turn it around that quickly then?
Yeah, well, between first and second interviews, I would definitely agree that you probably need to have a short period between first and second interviews. I mean, candidates nowadays are in high demand, and the last thing I would want you to do is miss out on the best person, because obviously they go off the market somewhere else because there's a time delay between first and second interviews. It's one of the reasons why we're quite sort of fastidious about sort of tying down dates, really. So from that perspective, I mean, would you be able to do a second interview next, say, a week on Friday?
Let me check. Yeah, I could do that. I could do that Friday. Obviously, it's a week and a half off, so anything could happen in that time, but at the minute I'm free.
Okay, fantastic. And with regard to the first interviews, I mean, are you able to coordinate that with Robert's diary now, or would you like me to speak to Robert and do that?
When we finish today, I'll pop him an email and I will copy you in, because I know you've sent me your terms and things, so I'll get that. I've got your email address. I will get him to ring you with some dates, or email you with some dates on the back of my email going to him.
Okay, but obviously from that perspective, I mean, is he on holiday next week or anything like that?
Oh no, he's around next week. He will have some meetings, but if we're trying to work to, I guess I take your point. If we're trying to work to that deadline, then getting, with me interviewing on the Friday, he's going to have to see what he can do on the Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday.
Right. Okay, no problem at all. In terms of the interviews as well, the first interview is obviously with Robert. The second interview, is there any sort of formal thing that they have to do at the second interview, or?
I'd like a presentation from them at the second interview.
Okay, and what do you get them to present on?
In an ideal world, let me know what you think on this. In an ideal world, I'd like to give them a bit of a brief on what we do, because they'll have picked some of that up from the first interview, and then I'd like them to come back and tell me how they would go about tackling that job.
I think that's a really good way of doing it, actually. I mean, one of the things that we always recommend as well is maybe giving them a bit of information, as you say, at the first interview, and then at that second interview you really want them to present back, A, to show that they've listened to the information, understand it, and secondly that they're going to go and approach the job in the way that suits your company and your business.
Yeah, I'm glad you agree, because that's what we thought as well. So so we'll stick with that.
Okay, fantastic. So let's see how well we've actually managed to achieve the objectives of that first part. I've managed to find out that the reason for the vacancy is that someone has left. I've managed to find out that their interview process is a 2-stage interview process, of which the second stage will be a presentation. We know that they're looking to fill this role as soon as possible, and that so far they've used one other agency, Michael Page, and I've seen 2 candidates, neither of which really hit the mark. Getting concise and precise job details is critical when taking a job specification. Understanding the role as if you were going to apply for it, finding out about all the details of the job, whether it be the hours they're working, what would I be doing on a day-to-day basis, what are the key priorities of the role, will I be doing weekend work, what is the expectations on me. All of these things will be things that candidates are likely to ask you at interview. So getting that information from the client enables you to sell the job far better to better quality candidates. In this next section of the conversation, I will be trying to find out the following 3 things. Firstly, what is the job actually doing? Secondly, what are the salary and the benefits for this particular opportunity? And finally, what are the company hoping to achieve in filling this vacancy? Okay, Mark. What I want to really talk about now is the actual details of the job itself. So my first question to you is, what would they actually be selling in this role?
It's food products.
Okay, and could you expand upon that? What sort of food products?
Yeah, we manufacture a series of oils and fats for the catering cooking industry.
Okay, and is there a range of these oils and fats, or?
Yeah, well, I think I should know this, but it changes. I think that there's something like 250 different product areas across different, like oils and fats. So rapeseed oils and olive oils and butters and lards and flavoured oils and flavoured butters and ghee and all those sort of things.
Okay, no problem at all. And the oils and fats you sell, are they bespoke, or do you tailor them ever to meet a client's needs, or is it just sort of off-the-shelf products?
It's a bit of both. Like, if I'm being truthful, I reckon 90% of it's core off-the-shelf product, with probably 10% of bespokely manufactured for the client.
Okay, and you sell these oils and fats into whom?
Into the food service market.
Okay, when you say the food service market, that would include?
Pubs, clubs, restaurants, bars, leisure retail, sort of cinemas and leisure clubs and those sort of areas. A bit in the airline industry as well, okay. And some wholesale, so like the 3663s and so on of this world.
And if you were to break that down further, I mean, you say that's quite a vast array of different end markets. Where would you see most of your sort of oils and fats get sold to? Mainly
into the HoReCa sector, which is the hotel, restaurant and catering sector. I reckon 75% of the business is in that market.
Okay, and the other 25% is what, broken down?
There's some specialist stuff, so travel is smaller, specialist, and sort of sports, sort of stadium and those sort of areas. Okay. There's some in that, and then the other bit's the distribution market as well. So the other 25% is made up of those areas.
How much of it's distribution market?
6%, 7%, something like that. Not a lot.
Okay.
It's mainly end user.
Right, and are you looking to grow the distributor side, or is it a case of you think that split's going to be in existence anyway for whoever takes on the role?
I think growth in that market might come as a consequence of what we do, because the sales process is we find an end user who wants it, and then we find a way of getting it to them, and usually getting it to them means using their distribution channel or an existing distribution channel of ours. But sometimes we have to appoint a new distributor because either we don't work with theirs, or it's somebody that we haven't worked with or they don't work with before. In that instance, that distributor, as well as distributing it to their customer, will then take it on in their listings and distribute it to their own customers as well.
Okay.
So the distribution channel will grow sort of organically, if you like, rather than proactively.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of this salesperson, then most of their time would be still trying to go and find the end user client as opposed to the distributors, I assume.
Yeah, a lot of it's a lot of it's account management, because we're quite well covered. But a percentage of his role is new business, and that will be finding end users.
Okay. Within the clients that you just mentioned, or the markets you just mentioned, I should say, who would they typically sell to? What level of contact?
It ranges. And I know that's a bit of a silly answer sometimes, but it genuinely does range from owner, because we deal with owners of large restaurants, or even for that matter, sort of regional owners where they might have 6 bars in an area. But then, as well as that, we deal with buying groups, so buyers and other members of the purchasing team as well.
Okay. Again, if you had to split that down by percentage, what percentage would you say were owners and regional? I put down managers here, but regional owners, I know what you're saying.
Yeah, I think it's probably heavily weighted. I couldn't give you an exact percentage, but heavily weighted in favour of the owner manager type customer than it is in favour of the nationals, because it's just less of the nationals, so there'd be less people to call on in that area. Okay.
And the typical order value for the products they're selling would be what?
Probably 5,000.
5,000. What would be the highest orders that you would expect them to get?
That's a tough one. Maybe 250,000.
Right, but most of them would be the smaller orders, would they?
Yes, yeah.
And would they go and visit the same clients sort of on a sort of cycle, like every 2 weeks or every 3 weeks?
Yeah, it is a 4-week cycle that they go on.
Right, okay, no problem at all. In terms of new business, between going in there with the concept of your products to then buying your products, how long does that normally take?
It could be instant, because often we're called in to resolve an immediate need. Suppliers let me down usually, but then sometimes it's we're on a trial along with 3 or 4 others, or we're being held up against their competition, against their current supplier as a trial. In which case that trial tends to be 3 months. So anything from overnight to 3 months.
Okay. This particular role, what geographical area would they be covering?
It's the Midlands.
Okay, could you expand upon that? What's the furthest north part of that?
If you drew a line or started at Stoke,
Yeah.
and drew a line across to Mansfield, the area,
Okay.
and then you came down to perhaps Milton Keynes, slightly north of Milton Keynes, Peterborough, Northampton area, and then all the way across to sort of Worcestershire, or sort of a bit further south of that, probably north of Bristol, somewhere, Gloucester, somewhere like that. Anything in that middle area.
So they wouldn't go into Wales at all?
No.
Okay, no problem at all. And that area, in terms of turnover, what's it currently achieving?
It's doing about 3.5 million at the moment.
Oh, that's very good. Okay. And this person's role, I know you said it's mainly account management. What percentage would you say was account management versus new business?
That would pretty much be left up to them, in so much as we give the area a target. So okay, it's doing 3.5 million in a minute. I think we said this year we want 3.75 million out of it. So they've got to find £250,000 of new business, and if they find that in one hit, then they've only got to do that one call to get the new business in. That is unlikely, though, if I'm being honest. It's probably 30% of their working week would be speculating for new clients.
Okay. And when you say about speculating for new clients, what support do you give them in terms of new business?
We do have a database, as I'm sure you can imagine, and then we've got some expired customers as well, that customers that we used to trade with that we don't trade with anymore, so they've got access to that as well.
Okay. And you said that this year you're looking for the person to do 3.75 million. When does the year end?
March 31.
March 31st. Okay, so you've got a bit of time,
Yeah.
which is good. And you said the area is online to do 3.5 million. What about clients that you lose? Is it a case that they've got to replace those with new business, as well as obviously formulating and getting more extra new business on top?
Yeah, touch wood, we have a low attrition rate where that's concerned. But yes, if they lose them, they need to make it up. It's not, this point, we can't say to them, look, it was worth 3.5 last year, so you put another 250 on, everything's okay, because if they lost the 500,000 off that,
Yeah.
the 3.5 became 3, add the 250 on, they're at 3,250, so
Yeah.
they're 250 down where they should have been. And another 250 down on the new, so it needs to be 250. Sorry, it needs to be 3.75 net.
Okay, no problem at all. And I know you said it's achieving 3.5 million at the moment. What did it achieve last year?
About that, I said to you, if you go back, this guy's looking to sort of move on. He's become a bit, looking for a new challenge. I think probably has become, for want of a better word, a little bit stale, and so we were stagnating a bit on the area as well. It's a good area for us, but getting some new blood into it would be good.
Okay. Is there any management involved in the role?
No, not really. When you work with the distributors, you have to do a little bit of. These distributors, you probably know this, but these distributors have their own sales teams as well. So they will try and sell your product because it sits in their portfolio. But in the main, you don't manage them, but you go in and sort of support them and help them and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and train their sales team on the benefits of the product. And
Yeah.
things like that.
Yes, a little bit of that. Yeah.
Okay. In terms of the salary, what are you ideally looking to pay for this role?
There's quite a range here because we can pay as low as 40, but we're more than happy to go up to 55 if we have to.
Well, that is quite a large range. What would, experience-wise, what would you be expecting someone to bring at 40,000?
I'd say at least 2 to 3 years of sales experience within the food sector, within oils.
Right.
Oil,
Okay.
oils, fats, that what we're in basically.
Right. And for 55,000?
We're probably looking at the be all and end all of an oils and fats salesperson. Someone that's been doing it all their career, has got a track record in business development, has got a track record of introducing new products. So they've worked with a customer and done some bespoke product as well.
Yeah. Okay.
Plus the 10 years plus experience in it as well.
Right. Okay. And as well as the basic salary, what other benefits are there?
But we give a company car.
Okay. What car's that?
I think we give them a Mondeo.
Okay.
Fairly sure it's a Mondeo. Obviously, I don't drive one of those, but
No, I'm sure.
I think we give a Mondeo out to the staff, and then they get, or sales guys anyway. It's fully expensed. So we give them a fuel card. To be honest with you, turned a blind eye, I think, to private mileage. A lot of companies do, don't they? And then we've got a mobile phone, and we give them a laptop, and there's some boopery type thing, sort of medical insurance type thing that they can get.
Is that for them and their family, or is that just for them?
Well, let's not get too generous. And a little bit of there's a pension scheme as well. We were forced to do it. That makes it sound horrible, but we were forced by the government to bring the scheme in. But we've incentivised or added on top of that as well. So I can't remember what the contribution. You'd have to get the exact figures to, but I think we're paying something like 200 quid an employee a month or something like that. It's quite high.
Okay, if you could find that out, that would be really useful, because it's daft little things like that can sometimes make a difference actually in the mind of a candidate. So the more accurate information I have, the better, really. Okay, fantastic. All right, well, thanks ever so much. Oh, also holidays. What sort of holidays are they entitled to?
The standard's 22.
Yeah. Okay. Are there any other sort of? Does it go up after that, or?
I think it might go up with service, so you might get another day after 2 or 3 years, and another 2 or 3 years, another day after that. It's something like that. It couldn't give you the exact. Again, if I dig the information out about the pension, I'll dig that out as well for you.
That'd be really useful. And is there a bonus for the role? I forgot to ask that.
Yes, it's based on, they get the salary they get, obviously, and then they get a percentage of that salary for being, I think it's anything from 90% of target onwards. So under 90 they get nothing, and then over 90 they get 1% of the turnover for that year, and then on 100 I think they get 1.5%, and anything over 100% they get 2% of the difference.
And that gives up to 2% of the difference, yeah? Right, okay, so playing with these figures, and effectively they achieved 3.6 million, I think it is, would be about 90%. So they would get 1% of the 3.6 million, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay,
So you
fantastic.
get 36 grand bonus.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, thanks for that, Mark. Let's find out what information we were able to gather from that last section. Firstly, we found out that this particular role is selling food products throughout the West Midlands into food service marketplace. We were able to find out that the basic salary is between £40,000 and £55,000 with a company car, bonus and excellent benefits. And finally, we were able to find out that the company are looking for somebody to achieve £3.75 million for the year. When taking down candidate requirements, it's really important to think of alternatives. Most clients will give you a complete wish list of what they're looking for. At the end of the day, a lot of people are actually taken on based on their personality and cultural fit, so it's really important you get that information. But a lot of the times clients will consider sort of things slightly varied to what the ideal candidate is, whether it be that the person's got market knowledge, whether it's been there working in a similar sort of engineering field. So really asking those questions and finding that bit of extra information out is quite critical. For this next section, I'm trying to establish the following three things. Firstly, what experience is the client looking for, and is there any degree of flexibility on that? What type of person do they want, and what sort of personality will fit into their company culture? And finally, what training and prospects are available to the candidate? Mark, thanks ever so much for giving me the job details there. Obviously what I want to talk about now is the actual candidate themselves. Now I know you said that the area it's covering is the Midlands, and you gave me the extremities of that. Where would you ideally want this person to live?
Anywhere in that territory would be fine.
Okay, fantastic. And in terms of the actual person themselves, what skills or what experience is it critical that they've got?
They need to have come from the oils and fats industry.
Okay, why would they need to come from the oils and fats industry?
They wouldn't be able to pick the product knowledge up otherwise.
Okay. What training do you give in relation to the product?
Well, when somebody starts, we'll put them on a full induction of, meet the team, look at the office, that type of induction. But then they get a long, in-depth, product briefing as well. I think it's in like 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's about 2 or 3 weeks, did you say?
Yes, something like. They're doing the job in the meantime as well, so it's not intensive. But yeah, for the first 2 or 3 weeks is they really do need to get under the skin of the product, so they can meeting the people in the factory, understanding the technical specification of what we do and all that as well. So yeah. Okay.
As well as the oils and fats industry, are you looking for somebody who's come from what sort of sector? Are you looking for somebody who's sold into the food service market?
Oh yeah, that goes without saying. They need to have sold into the food service market as well, so oils and fats into the food service market.
Okay, given your training scheme there, if I had a really good salesperson who had been selling into the food service market, particularly obviously the hotel sector that you were talking about earlier, but had sold different types of ingredients into them, would you look at that?
Well, it's a possibility, I suppose, yeah, because we do train them, so.
Okay, so whilst in an ideal world it would be somebody who basically has got oils and fats industry experience, you would also consider other ingredients too?
Yeah, as long as they were selling into the food sector still, the food service sector still.
Right, okay, that's obviously the most important thing. So you wouldn't consider somebody who sold, I don't know, various food ingredients into shops or into distributors?
No, but because the biggest difference here is that the people we're selling to are using the product, whereas in the retail sector they're reselling it. So it's a different proposition, but we're selling it to be used by the customer.
No, I appreciate there is quite a massive difference between the two areas there.
Quite.
In terms of the other people that you've taken on for a sales role, what sort of background have they had and what's made them successful?
They've all come from food service, and if I'm being honest with you, most of them have come from the oils and fats market. But thinking back, you maybe think about this asking the question. So I think one of them didn't, or maybe even two of them didn't. So the suggestion you made might work there. So they've all come from the food service market. It requires a certain ability to pitch at different levels, because if you're imagining you might be working with a chef of one pub, but then you might be working with the buying director of a big group, and you can trying to pitch to those different levels requires different skills, as I'm sure you can imagine, with due respect to chefs. And then the other thing of that is they need the ability to spin a lot of plates, because the order value is relatively low, so you've got a large number of clients that you are servicing to make up the turnover on the territory. So you need to keep all the plates spinning and work out when to touch each plate, if you like. So, your very biggest accounts need a lot more attention than your smallest ones, who will just continue to order on a regular basis. But your larger ones need more regular touching, if you like.
Okay. In terms of the personality that you're looking for as well, what things are really critical? What sort of personality do you think will work well in this industry and work well for your organisation?
They need to be self-sufficient. We give a lot of training at the outset, but we then expect people to be able to stand on their own 2 feet. They can base themselves from home, so they don't get the office contact unless they want it. So they need to be self-sufficient, self-motivated, have a lot of drive.
Okay. And you say that obviously they can actually work from home. How often would you expect them to come into the office?
It would be nice to see them every week at least, for my sales manager at least, just to see how they're getting on. But with technology as it is nowadays, with mobiles and iPads and laptops and things like that, it doesn't really matter. It's just more of a, it'd be nice to see them rather than we have to see them. It's the same with most sales, as I'm sure you know. If you're doing well, people don't look at you. If you're not doing so well, then people are going to wonder why you're not in the office, aren't they?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right there, and also I do think with modern technology, it's some companies that I'm speaking to now go 2 or 3 months without seeing some of their remote salespeople.
Yeah, some of the guys I've got working for that might work well for that.
Whereabouts is the office actually based, by the way?
We're in Shrewsbury.
Shrewsbury, okay, lovely. One question which obviously a lot of good candidates will ask me, particularly maybe some that are actually in the oils and fats industry at the moment, if they did really well in this initial role, what's the title for this role, by the way?
It's account manager.
So if they do really well as an account manager, how can they progress within the company?
It's a fairly flat structure, if I'm being honest. If you look, one of the reasons the salary and benefit scheme is quite impressive or quite attractive is for that reason, that it's difficult to give them much promotion opportunity. We do have a sales manager, but there's only one of them, and there's 4 field account managers. So it's a tough one to answer that. I don't really have a lot, by way of a benefit to give you there.
Right, okay, no problem at all. Well, thanks for that information. During that last section, we were able to establish the following. Firstly, ideally the client would like somebody from the oils and fats industry, but would consider somebody who has sold other ingredients into the food service marketplace. Secondly, in terms of personality, they're looking for someone who's got the ability to adapt to different points of contact. Someone with the ability to multitask, someone who's self-sufficient and is able to stand on their own 2 feet. Finally, we found out that in terms of training, they give a full induction and then in-depth product briefing for 2 to 3 weeks. Unfortunately, there is a very flat structure there, so there isn't really the promotional opportunities for somebody to go to. One of the last things I do in the job specification is get the information about the actual company itself. By this stage, you've already built up a fair degree of empathy and rapport with the client through asking the other questions. Therefore, they're far more likely to give you that extra bit of information to make their company an employer of choice and make it very marketable to good candidates, having built up that credibility with you. This final section will be looking at company information, and here I'm going to be finding out 3 key things. Firstly, are all the details I have about the company and contact correct? This will include the registered company name. Secondly, I need to get details about the company that will enable me to sell them effectively to a candidate. And finally, I need to get details about why someone would actually want to join them as a company, so again I can effectively sell it to a candidate. Mark, thanks ever so much for that information there. Just a few final points really. Obviously I've got your company name down here as ABC Oils. Is it ABC Oils Limited, ABC Oils PLC? What's the actual company name itself?
It's limited, ABC Oils Limited.
Okay, fantastic. It's not UK Limited, it's actually...
Yeah, no, just limited.
Great. Obviously I've got your name down here. What's your position in the company?
I'm director.
Okay, are you managing director or director of sales or...?
Well, there's 2 of us that run the business. We just take director, but I suppose I'm sales director for want of a better job title.
Unlucky. And the company ABC Oils Limited, how long has it been established now?
We were 2001, we came to be.
Okay, fantastic. What actually, were you one of the founder directors? Or?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, what was your background before you started that?
I was selling oil before, so oils and fats before.
Oh, okay. Well, working for whom?
Another company called Oils and Fats Incorporated.
Okay. And are you part of a group or are you an independent company?
Oh no, we're an independent business.
Okay, and approximately what is your company turnover now?
It's 12 million.
12 million. So this area is quite a large part of that then, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay.
It is a big area for us.
All right, no problem at all. One question that I always ask companies is, if I was a candidate and a very good fit for this role, what would motivate me to come and join you at ABC Oils Limited?
I think there's a few things. One, I think the salaries are good, well, competitive, and the bonus scheme's fantastic. So there's some financial reasons to want to join us. But I also think the opportunity is fantastic as well. We're a young business, but we bat above our weight, or for what I can't find the phrase around that, but we do better than we should do for our size, with the customer portfolio that we've got and the product portfolio that we've got. So that gives you an opportunity, or give the sales guys an opportunity to work at a high level, pitch into a higher level than perhaps they would do for other companies that have only been around for 10, 15 years as well.
Okay, fantastic. Now I've got your contact details, obviously the one I've just dialed now. Is there a mobile number I can take for you, so if I need to get hold of you I can do?
Yeah, sure, it's 07
Yeah.
974
Okay.
303
Yeah.
783.
Okay. And with Robert obviously doing the first interviews, is it best that I send any details or speak to him in the first instance, or speak to you about the candidates?
Probably best off speaking to him.
Right, okay. And do you have a number for Robert as well? I call him on.
Yeah, sure. You can get him on the switchboard, but I'll give you his mobile as well.
Yeah.
It's 07921
Okay.
289
Yeah.
345.
Okay, lovely. Okay, no problem at all. Well, thank you ever so much for all the information that you've given me there, Mark. What I want to do now is just ensure that I've got all the information that I should have, and make sure that I'm along the right lines when it comes to actually sort of matching to your requirements. So my understanding is obviously this role is a replacement role. It will be reporting to Robert Smith, who in turn obviously reports into you. In terms of what they're doing, they're selling obviously a range of oil and fats into primarily the food service marketplace. Salary wise, you're prepared to pay anywhere between 40 and 55. Obviously £40,000 for somebody who's a good salesperson and has had some, about 2 or 3 years experience within the food sector. And £55,000 would be somebody who's had about all their life working in the food sector really, and about 10 plus years experience. In terms of the experience you're looking for, you're after somebody who's got a good knowledge of the food service marketplace. You want somebody who's got the ability to adapt to different points of contact, so someone who's able to deal comfortably with chefs, but equally is able to deal with senior buyers as well. Likewise, someone who can actually multitask, somebody who's got the ability to deal with those large accounts that might need a lot of hand holding and a lot of contact, but equally someone who's able to deal with the smaller accounts and deal with their sort of requirements as well. You mentioned obviously that you give a full induction in training, so that's really a good selling point. And whilst there isn't real prospects in promotion, I would agree with you, the bonus bit in particular, whereby they get 1% of anything over sort of 90% on their target onwards, and that goes up to 2% over anything over 100%, I think is absolutely fantastic. Is there anything I've missed out there at all?
No, I think you've got a full understanding of both us as a company and the role that we're looking to recruit for, and obviously the type of candidate that we're looking for there as well.
Fantastic. Well, I'm going to start advertising and resourcing for this straight away. I'm going to come up with a short list of candidates which I will then assess and present you with an even shorter list of candidates, which will be around about 3 or 4 maximum. Ideally this will be a blend of people with food service market experience and maybe 1 or 2 from the oils and fats industry as well, though I can't guarantee that. What they will be though is they'll have all the personality and characteristics you are looking for, and they will have been challenged on their motivations for moving and their motivations to join you. I'll obviously speak to Robert about that, and if you could get Robert to come back to me in terms of when he could do the first interviews, that would also be greatly appreciated.
Yep, no problem. I'll pop an email out to him and copy you in on that as soon as we've done it.
That's great. Well, I look forward to working with you, Mark.
Thank you very much for the call.
Cheers now. Bye-bye.
In that last section, I was able to find out the following. Firstly, the name of the company is ABC Oils Limited. That limited part is really important as it ensures that our invoices go to the right company. The second thing I found out was that Mark Wilkinson is a sales director. I was able to find out that the company was established in 2001, it has a £12 million turnover, and it's actually an independent company. In terms of why someone would look to join the company, we found out it's due to a good salary, a great bonus scheme, and also the opportunity to pitch into a higher level.
Guys, in summary about job specifications, the level of detail that you take is absolutely critical. It's really important that you understand every single nuance of every single vacancy, almost to the point where you could actually be their first line of interview when you're actually speaking to candidates. Likewise, when you're actually sort of finding out about the benefits and finding out about the other aspects of the job, always ensure that you get that extra bit of detail, because at the end of the day, imagine you were a candidate, what would you want to know about the actual benefits package and about the job? Always think along those sort of lines. Guys, my top 3 takeaways from today's session about job specifications are as follows. Firstly, know the situation. Understand why the client's looking to recruit. Is it expansion? Is it replacement? Understand what have they done so far to try and fill it. Have they got any candidates still in the frame? Are you about to waste a load of time in finding some people for them when they're about to fill it tomorrow? Really get to understand what the situation with the vacancy is, and you can actually use that to your advantage when you're speaking to your client about sort of interviews and about how quickly they move. My second takeaway would be to think about the job from the candidate's perspective. Imagine that you were the candidate going for this job. What things would be important to you? What things would you want to know? Would you want to know about the sort of benefits in full detail, such as if it's a pension, what percentage is a pension? Would you want to know about the holidays? How much holiday entitlement am I likely to get in the average year? What about training? What about progression? How is this company going to give me the career I'm looking for? If you put yourself in the candidate's perspective, you will be asking a lot more thorough, detailed questions when taking the job specification. And this will enable you to sell it far better to high caliber candidates when it comes down to it. My third takeaway is probably the most critical one of all, and that is to confirm everything back to the client at the end of your sort of job specification. Really sort of builds up rapport with them, it builds up the confidence. In a lot of cases, when I've done this, clients believe that their recruitment is now solved, so any future recruitment consultancies that phone them are likely to be told no in no uncertain terms. Really sort of specify in terms of what the things you should confirm is the actual job spec, the key points that they're looking for in a candidate, and really build up the empathy and the trust here, because believe it, it goes a long way in terms of client development. There we go guys, that's my tips in relation to taking down a job specification. Follow the guidelines I've given you and you will be successful, and before you know it, you'll be making mega bucks and also making massive commission for yourself.